questions. So just unmute yourself and ask the question, and we will address it at that time. So today we're going to be talking about why we have changes. We're going to review some of the obsolescence of the current systems, discuss some cross compatibility. We're going to do a demo, and then again leave some time for questions. So why the change? Well, the system originally came out in 1984, and then in 1987 we pretty much came out with what we've been using for the last over 30 years. The product hasn't changed that much, but the pumps have, and always trying to improve upon the previous one. We wanted to continue doing that. But as you can see, this was pretty much the original funnel, and currently this is pretty much what everybody's been using. And if we just want to reflect upon that, this is kind of what our hair looked like back in the day when the Milliflex first came out. So we kind of felt it was time for a change, but we didn't want to have change simply for the sake of change. So we, if I could ask you to mute your phones, please. If you could. Thank you. We didn't want to just have change for the sake of having change. We wanted people to have dialogue with us, and we wanted to look at the product and see how we could improve upon it. Every time we had discussions, we kept coming back to four main ideas where result reliability, compliance, productivity, and ergonomics were really important. So with all of that, we were able to develop the new Milliflex Oasis platform, which was launched last January. So it looks really nice, lots of colors, very sleek, and we'll get into the details more now. The unit itself is considerably lighter and smaller. We know that space on the laminar flow hood is at a premium, so we wanted to reduce the footprint. And in doing that, we were able to help keep the areas cleaner and tidier. One of the things that we always kept hearing was that it was difficult to connect the unit to power and for the drain also. So we addressed that by putting the power and drain connection in the back of the unit. And as you can see here, it's very easy to get to. But we also know that people want to expand and go from a 2-head to possibly 6. And as you can see with this picture on the left, 1 power source, but 2 extra little cables allow you to put 3 of these units in sequence. And what's really nice is if you wanted to, you can operate it from one of the single operating buttons. And what you see on the bottom right is our sanitization tools. We have a validated decontamination cycle now for the unit. What's really nice is how simple it is to do. There's going to be a small little video that's going to show how easy that is. So what we did is we looked at all of the components, and we broke it down and looked at how we could improve upon it. One of the things that we kept hearing about was that we wish the plastic was clearer for our products, easier to see, and that the graduation marks were also clear. In addressing that, you can see from the photos that the plastic is clear. The graduation marks are very easy to see, and you'll notice now that the lid is hinged. In looking at the tests from beginning to end, we noticed that people were either holding the lid or laying it down, and we wanted to help facilitate that. So now the lid is hinged onto the funnel body, which is great. We still have the forcep-free transfer of the membrane to the auger, which is best in class, and there's nobody else like it. What is really unique now is that because of the formation and how we've got it set up, when the lid comes down after your filtration and you click it down, you create a positive pressure inside of the unit. And as you can see from the membrane on the right-hand side, it creates a bowing effect to that membrane, which means that when you transfer it onto the auger, it's going from the inside out, and it's going to relieve any of the air bubbles that may have been present because it's just pressing it out. So you get a perfect roll every time. we've kept the membrane sealed to it. It's not glued, it's sealed, and we maintain the surface area so that the filtration is as fast as you've experienced in the past, but it's actually faster now due to the membrane support. This is my favorite feature in that the funnel removal is no longer the prerequisite for having forearms like Popeye. All we have to do now is just simply squeeze it, it separates, and the lid will transfer down and make it into your Petri dish. So this is really nice, no more breaking, no more popping, really, really easy. Again, we're looking here to address the ergonomics of doing this test over and over and over again. When you do it once, not a problem, but when you're doing a couple hundred tests a week, we can see why. So we were able to address that. One of the things you may have seen from the first picture was the introduction of color. In our discussions with the customers, we were able to see that some of the issues stemmed from tests using the wrong media, because all of the media looked exactly the same. It was packaged the same. So what we did was we colored the plastic. We did not change the formulations. We just changed the color of the plastic to help with identifying it when it's stored in your refrigerator. But as you can see here, we are looking and working on validating room temperature. That is still ongoing. It hasn't happened yet, but everything looks very favorable, and we hope that by the end of this year we should have some information showing you what the storage conditions can be like. In addition to that, we provided a better click to the lid for creating your Petri dish. And as you can see on the right, we have the ability now to stack these up on the tray that is used for the funnel. While you can't see it very well from this photo, there is a new membrane support, and I'll show you that when we're doing the demo. It's really quite nice in that every funnel has its own individual membrane support. And unlike the previous Milliflex version, the Oasis has no need for forceps again. So the whole test requires no forceps at all. You can transfer your funnel onto the pump head without having the use or concern about a separator. And as you look at the split of the funnel head, pardon me, the pump head. If you could, if you could please mute your lines unless you want to ask a question. Thank you. You can see that there's we've now introduced a check valve, and where the light blue is to the gray, there is. Does somebody have a question? Okay. All right, but you can see that each funnel has a complete separation between the pump head and a barrier between the pump head and the membrane. So that helps with our validated decontamination cycle, and you only have to do that monthly, not at the end of every day. So we're saving you a ton of time by doing it, and it makes it quite simple. So since we're talking about the sanitization cycle, I thought I'd show you just a little quick video on how this works and how you perform the test. It's just really simple. You would remove both of the pump heads and attach the sanitization device. You put the piece on the other side to make it an enclosed system, and as you saw, they push that little lever over, which turned that light green. We have a cup, and we have our syringe. We pour our sanitizer, pardon me, into the syringe up to 60 ml, and as you press the plunger in, they press it down to the 50 ml mark, and this helps to prime the pump and get the sanitant in there. We're now putting our purified water, our rinse, into the funnel, and as we turn the unit on, the vacuum starts, and because it's now closed and there's a full proper vacuum, it is drawing the sanitant into the body of the unit, to the inside of the unit, all of the tubing, etc. And this would now be a hold of about 15 minutes. So you can see that it takes just a couple minutes to set that up. And then after the 15-minute wait, the vacuum will draw through again, pulling the rest of the sanitant and now flushing the inside of the system out with your sterile water. So you get a nice flush, and at this point, you'd be able to begin your tests. No waiting, etc. And if you decided that you wanted to do both heads at one time, you could in fact set it up in this particular fashion and do that. So as we go through, if you're doing this once a month, we recommend that you would do cleaning of the pump head. And again, this is simple. The pump head has O-rings that help keep the membrane support and keep the vacuum in place. So, and as you can see here, they're just going to start removing some of the gaskets with the tool that is provided when you buy the pump. And you can see that they removed an identifying band. That was the check valve. And again, they're just removing some of the gaskets that that need replacement periodically. And this is something that you can do when you're doing your monthly check to see whether or not the gaskets are in need of changing. So here they're just going to do a good clean of the unit and begin to reassemble it. There is no need for autoclaving, but we have found that there are some people who prefer to autoclave their units. And what we're finding is that they're taking the gaskets and the O-rings and the check valve, and they're putting it into the same bag that after they take it off the pump head, they're putting it into the same bag that they put into the autoclave and autoclave it complete. That way they have all of the pieces for the pump head that they need when it comes out of the autoclave, and then they could just simply reassemble as they're going to do here. So after you would clean your unit, you just put the O-rings back in. It's very simple, and you can see that the process doesn't take much time. This little tool that you see them using, that comes as part of the pump, and you would buy you could buy the kit, which comes complete with all of these bands and O-rings that allow you to change and identify your pump head. So with that, you just add the last O-ring and you'd be ready to go. So you could see that within the span of 15-20 minutes, your pump would be completely sanitized and ready to go for the next month. A very, very simple process in comparison to what is currently being done. So as we continue to look at the process of performing this test, we also found out that people are more and more concerned about injuries at work and reducing the need for Sharpies. So what we've done is we created a box that has a tape that you can remove without a Sharpie, where you see the light blue on the white and light blue and to that yellow tape. That's not adhesive, so you can just grab it, open it up. And as you can see, the labels are very clear, concise. Catalog numbers are up front and center. The lot numbers are easy to read. The expiration date also there, and you can see what it is that you're getting from the picture. But what we've also done is in discussing, more and more traceability and logging it is important. So thank you. So what we've done is anytime you see this little back arrow on a label, that indicates that is a removable label. So you can actually take that off and put that into your logbook. This helps reduce any transcribing errors from getting the lot number down incorrectly or the catalog number down, anything like that. We want to just help improve traceability. And in doing so, we apply that to the funnels, the base, the media, anywhere where there's a catalog number and a lot number, you can now scan it, or you can use the labels and put them into your logbook to keep everything up to date. Now, there's been a lot of changes, and we know that you have many of you have obviously our current system, but not everybody wants to buy a new pump, and you like to keep the current pump. Well, We have an adapter that allows you to retrofit your pump so that you can then use the new funnels that are coming out or that are out now, and you wouldn't have to necessarily buy the new pump. You would be able to completely use the system, but you're losing the weighing functions, and you would still have to maintain your daily sanitization as recommended in the user guide. What is nice is from this chart, you can see what is compatible and not compatible with the current system. And in order to help with the transition from the old to the new versions, the physical dimensions of the older funnels and the old media are exactly the same as the new funnels and the new media. So in the event that you wish to begin the transition, you don't have to lose some of your previous product and have to play around with your inventory and worrying about having to scrap something that is still good. So this is a great way of being able to start buying some of the new media, the new designed media. It's the same media, and use it with your current funnels as you begin, and then slowly begin the transition to the new funnels and to the whole system altogether. So let's talk a little bit about some of those changes and how we look to validate it. So what has changed and what hasn't changed? The plastic has changed, but the membrane has not. The media, no changes at all. The pump, we've changed the design, but we were able to show equivalency. And the system, the Milliflex Oasis performance is equivalent or better than that of the current model. So anything that has changed for the funnel has very limited contact with the product. So you can see that the funnel properties itself, the membrane support, etc., but very little contact. And the membrane support is actually post-filtration, and as you saw, it's individual to each sample. So there's no worry about cross-contamination. What is important is, and what is in contact with your product is the membrane. None of that has changed. We haven't changed the design. We haven't changed the materials. And we've made sure that the size remains exactly the same so that the filtration area is the same. Filtration area between both devices hasn't changed at all, and nor has the membrane material. The plastic is a medical grade, so it has very low toxicity. If I could ask you to mute your phone, thank you. Unless you had a question, if there was a question you want to ask, just let me know. But we were able to show from our validation that extractable tests were shown to be equivalent when compared to what's currently used. And as always, we want to stay in compliance with the United States Pharmacopoeia and keep everybody in compliance with their regulatory agencies. When it comes to the media, what has changed are the physical characteristics. So the cover, the body, and the bottom have changed, but as you can see, none of it is in contact with the product. Meanwhile, the TSA formulation, SDA, and R2A, none of that formulation has changed, and that is in contact with the product. So the critical parts here have not changed. It's just simply aesthetics and the design to help facilitate the new version of the product. In doing so, the growth promotion tests, in comparison to the previous, we went through a large panel of microorganisms, and again, we were able to show that this is equivalent to the previous version. And as you can see, everything we do thoroughly. Challenged it with a large panel, ton of organisms here to make sure that there were no issues at all. And for those of you that would like, we have a 32-page document that reviews what we did for the validation. It outlines and shows the comparisons between the two. And you'll see that what we were able to find out is that the unit now performs as well, if not better, than the previous version. So this is, again, good news. It's faster, cleaner, and easier to perform the test. And nothing better really than having somebody independently review your product. This gentleman has a small channel on YouTube for microbiology, and he decided that he would look at our product last year when we launched it. So here's some links that talk about the system and reviews the test. He does a marvelous job of just taking a look at the product and providing his feedback to it. And again, it's always nice to have somebody just look at it independently. So with regards to the notifications and discontinuations of the product, as I mentioned earlier, the product was launched last January. There was a lot of information that was sent out when it was launched to our current partners. So anybody that was currently or previously used the Milliflex was getting notifications about this. But last August, we sent out a change notification detailing what was being changed, what was being obsoleted, and what the changes and the replacement catalog number would be, and giving almost 20 months of leeway in order to be able to get those changes implemented, so that this would impact you very little. In addition, what we've done is we've placed inserts in the boxes so that to help let you know that the changes are coming. Hopefully that you've been able to receive these and see them. If you have not, I would recommend that you reach out to your sales rep and just say that, we're not getting the notifications. We want to make sure that the correct person is being notified when there are changes with regards to the product, so that everybody that uses it knows what's happening. So what will be discontinued in April of next year are listed here with the replacement numbers on the right. And in August 22, we have some more products. So as you can see, it's a phasing out of the product with the primary products up front, and then the smaller used items further and further down the line. Currently, this is all of the consumables that we have available for you right now to go out and use. I know that the 250 mil funnel is usually one that is, that is used quite often, and that one is to be launched and released this coming June. So it's coming out also. For those of you that, as I mentioned earlier, the Milliflex Plus pumps, we know that they are strong, that they are robust, and you'd like to hold on to this sometimes. The budget doesn't allow for the purchase of equipment right now. So we will continue to support these products until the December of 2026. And as with all of our products, we have training, whether it's online with the Learn at M, which has just been launched, or with method development that we have in our New England facility. Preventative maintenance, IQ, OQ, we have service in the field that will come out and do that for you, requalification, anything like that you need, we are here to support you. And with that, I'm going to go do the demo, but before I do the demo, does anybody have any questions as I walk over to my kitchen lab?
Hey, Michelle, I have a quick question. Thank you for doing this presentation. Can you hear me?
I can, yes, thank you.
Perfect. I think you kind of nailed it, though. One of the key questions I had, my first question was the phase out timeline. So what you're saying is, though, for the old, well, I'm not going to call it old because it's still great. So
yeah.
for the Milliflex Pump Plus, the phase out is December 2026. Is that
correct?
Any old parts, auxiliaries, or any consumable used for that particular model would be phased out to in December 2026?
That's correct. What it means is we can't guarantee that the parts will still be available for repair.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Certainly.
Hi, I had a question about autoclaving the new pump heads for the Oasis. You mentioned that people have been taking apart the gaskets and such when they're autoclaved. Can we leave them on when we go?
I suppose you could. Usually when you autoclave, you want to get to all of the surface areas, so that's why they want to remove everything just to clean it. It's also a good idea that you take them off just to make sure that they aren't cracking, or because if you've had them there for a long time, you want to do a visual. You want to make sure that there aren't any residuals from your product or water that have just left anything there. Also, we're dealing with bugs. We don't want to provide them any buffets to feast upon. So so I would still recommend that when you're doing that monthly, just remove them and just give it a nice clean.
And how frequently can those, like the gaskets, be autoclaved?
I honestly don't know what the limit is for autoclaving, but I can look into that and put a point and get an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
If you replace those every year, that would probably be fine. If you replace them yearly, they could be autoclaved. They're designed to be autoclaved.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure now everybody can see the unit in front of me in my hands. And as we can see, the unit is really nice and clean looking, very simple and much lighter than the previous version. We got a 2-head pump here. There's no way that you could do that in the past. When you look at the back, this is the power coming in. My drain connects in and out very quickly, and this is the secondary power, which if I had a second unit, I would just need a cable that runs from here to the next unit, and I could have 2 running off one power source, so that you don't have multiple lines coming into your laminar flow hood into your bench, but you just have one. Again, keeping it nice and clean. You can see that the surface is very flush, no edges, nice and rounded. Again, easy to clean. Removal of the pump head, very simple. Just a matter of taking it and placing it down. There's a little line here, which lines up with the frosting mark, which I don't think, there it is. It just shows up, and you just line up the frosting mark, put it at about 1 o'clock, and click it down. Very simple. The inside, as you can see, there's the check valve, the O-rings on the outside and on the head. Very easy to access, and you can see that they are easy to remove. Now, you did see online or in the video that they had color. What we found is that some people still want to identify the pump for whether it's for product or whether it's for water or one particular test. They're autoclaving the unit. They may still want to autoclave, even though you don't have to, and they may want to identify the pump heads for a particular pump or a particular test. And we have these bands that just fit right in and go in. And then what we do is we've also provided these nice little labels, which would go into this. There's a little recess right here. That label would just fit into here. And now you've identified this pump with these pump heads and so forth. It's fantastic. As you can see, there's some lights on right here. The unit will automatically go to sleep in a half hour, and to wake it up, just basically run your finger over where the buttons would be, and it'll wake up. So let's take a look at the funnel, shall we? They come in a in a box, and then when you pull it out, we have ourselves a nice little package of 8. And as I mentioned before, the labels come off. Wherever you see that little arrow to peel it back, I can now take that label and I can put that into my logbook wherever I wanted. Or when I open this up to pull it out, if I only wanted to use 4 at a time, I could do that also. Oops, sorry, here we go. And leave the other ones in there, and I could take that tape if I wanted to and just fold it under, keep it intact. Now, as you can see, tray's really nice, and over here we can see how we can stack them up. So that's really a nice feature. It helps. Again, we're worried about the space on your bench top. So the membranes come or the funnels come nice and solid on the unit. And to remove them, just a matter of pulling it off. Now, as we go in and we take a look at the funnels themselves, talked about the identification codes on each one of them, so you can scan that with your limbs if you wanted. But the funnel itself, each one of them are identified. I talked about the membrane support. There's no membrane separator here that you have to pull off with the forceps. It's actually right underneath the membrane, and it comes off when I peel that off the membrane, the support. It also comes off. So now I'm ready to go and perform the test. So when we talk about our media, we can see that it's all nice and colorful, and we've done the same thing for the boxes. Boxes have the color of the media so that you know this is R2A, has a peelable label if you wanted to put that in your logbook. And as with our previous ones, they're nicely packaged, very easy to open, very easy to identify. So when you're performing the test, you've reduced all of the chances of making an error. So we're going to just take our funnel off, and what we found was when we when they were designing it, they actually put the frosting on two sides, because left-handed people and right-handed people put the units down differently, and the frosting wasn't showing. So for those of you that are left-handed, we've also made sure to address your needs. So in order to run your sample, it's just a matter of pulling the lid open, pouring the sample down, and at this point, this is where it's a little different. The lid comes down, but I don't click it. All I'm doing is just letting it fall down. There's no pressure applied. It just helps to close the system. As you can see, I just let it fall down. And then here, just a matter of turning it on, runs to drain. The filtration finishes. I press the button again. This is the dry out sequence. Sorry, that might have been a little bit loud with the pump in the back. So the light turns blue when it's filtering. As you see the volume finish, you press it again, and you saw how the light was flashing. At this point, I press the lid down. So now my system is ready to go. I'm getting my media. Pull the lid off. Here, I take the funnel off. The membrane is with it. The membrane support stays on the pump head. So now I've got an exposed membrane. Just a matter of placing it on. No bubbles. And here's the part where a lot of people are going to like. I simply just remove the lid, squeeze, and now I have my petri dish. And you hear that click, so it goes into place very nicely. And this clips in to the funnel support, and that doesn't come off. I'm going to do it for the second one. Prep my media. The lid's down. Press it. So the bowing effect from the positive pressure inside. Open. And now I can actually stack these. And I can stack them up to 6 high and not have a problem. And again, every single one of the media now has traceability, as well as the funnel that was used. So if there was any positive and you had to go back and do an investigation, you'd be able to find everything documented for you. Very, very nice system. At this point, it would just be a matter of removing the funnel supports and begin the test again. So as you can see, it's really, really quite simple. But I also wanted to show you what the previous version would look like. So I'm just going to take a second here. This is your current pump with the current pump head. This is the new pump head. It goes on in the same way with the little lever in the back, and it locks on. And at this point now, we can use the new funnels Press it down. And run your sample the way you normally would. And you can see that it's not quite as fast as the new one. Perform your dry out the way you normally would. Getting my media ready. When it finishes the dry out, I get my separation. My membrane support stays on. And at this point, I transfer it down. I have my the lid again. Just comes off, and I can still turn it into my Petri dish. So you can, if you wanted to, use by simply getting the adapter, use that. But I also wanted to show you that I'm sure you're looking at the media saying, I'd really like to use this now. Well, you can. The formulation hasn't changed, and these are the current cups that you're using. And here's one of the new medias. And it would just be a matter of transferring it over the way you normally would after filtration and break it down the way you normally would. And I have my Petri dish. One downside of that is that because the lid is different and it doesn't have this little tab, it won't lock and go into the trays so that you can put it into the incubator. So it's really quite a simple system, and we've really worked on making it faster and easier for you. I said I would show you very briefly what the sanitization would look like. The video really showed how simple it was, but I want you to just see it's just be a matter of removing the pump heads, put the top for the other side, and this way I have my closed unit. And I'm not sure if the light will show, but as I just move that lever over, it turns green. When it turns green, it identifies for the system that this is now ready for the sanitization, and we're ready to go. Be a matter of pressing that, and it would go through that 15-minute cycle where it draws the plunger through, gives you the hold time, and then flushes it with the sterile water that's in there. And if you purchased only one, you would do the same thing with the other side, where you would transfer it over. And again, this time you're setting it up, and then you move the little lever over, and again, here we go. We're good to go. So as you can see, the system we've really made a lot of improvements, but the improvements were made from input from you. Because of what you wanted going forward to modernize the system. So we've taken all of that input and we've really turned it into, I think, a fantastic product. So at this point, we still have lots of time. If anybody has questions or if there's something they want to see in particular about this system, please let me know and I'll do that for you. So I'm just going to open up the floor to questions now.
Do you have something on pricing?
So what's really nice is that this is a new two-head system, and because of the improvements that we made and some of the features that we've removed, such as the weighing function, what we found was that about 95% of the customers didn't use the weighing function and didn't like the fact that it needed to be calibrated every 6 months. So we removed that completely. So some of those features have been removed, and in that the new two-head pump is actually less expensive than the previous two-head. I'm not exactly sure where we're looking for pricing, but you're probably looking at about mid $7,000, and obviously based on usage and things like that.
So with the removal of the weighing function, that means if you have like a sample that requires like the 3 rinses, I know like with the other pump, it will automatically like beep to let you know to rinse it 3 times. Is that function lost as well?
That's correct.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking at the catalog number changes and the media plates. List
Yes.
R2A, tryptic soy media, and Sabdex. There's no mention of M-Endo. Will this still support?
Yep. So as you saw, the old funnel worked with the new media, The new funnels work with the old media. All of the media are slowly being implemented and changes. We addressed the primary used media to begin with, and then we'll look to change as we go forward. Emendo, because of the color, we're not going to change the plastic on it. But you'll be able to continually use all of the media that we have now with the new funnels, and those catalog numbers until they are updated to the new if you want to call it Oasis system. The current Milliflex are still going to be up and running. We're not discontinuing those. All we're doing is upgrading the ones that are currently scheduled for obsolescence, and we're going to continually move that forward. But as you can see, because the formulations haven't changed and because they're cross-compatible, as we begin the implementation, it'll just be a matter of letting you know that this catalog number is not going to be effective after a certain date. Begin ordering this one and transition over.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
PCA media. Will you be making PCA media? Because I didn't see a mention.
There are some medias that are going to be looked at and changed. If we do not have it, we will have alternatives for you.
Oh boy. Okay. Thank you.
But again, put your name in the comments with your email, and I will get all that information for you and let you know. Yeah. But right now, that media is still here.
Okay. Thank you.
Please, but again, please put your name and your contact information in the comments section, and we'll get you that information. And that goes for anybody. If there's a question that you don't feel like sharing here, then put your name and contact information, and I'll gladly reach out to you and have a one-on-one discussion with you regarding anything you like about the product.
Okay.
So if you're getting more than one unit, you said you can connect 3 units together. Would they share
Correct.
one drain line?
You can, yep. So what we have are T-junctions for the tubing, and you can connect them so that you could have just one drain, or you could have all 3 go out. And that's solely a preference. But we have T's that go into that you would basically splice into the tubing, and then they would come out the back into one tube going outward.
Is there any option for a manifold?
Do we have options for a manifold? Yes. If you put your email in the in the dialogue area, I can reach back out to you and share that information with you.
If you're making your own media using the Milliflex cassettes, are they still compatible with this?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
so
that's not discontinued, is it?
No, nothing has changed. So the old funnels are compatible with the new cassettes, and I don't have the old media here, but the new funnels are compatible with the old media. There was a slide that showed they are both cross-compatible for that very reason, because it's very hard to do a hard stop on something that has a shelf life. So we wanted to allow for a smooth transition from one format to the next, but we had to make sure that physically the dimensions were compatible. So they are one and the same. What is different is that if you look at the old pump head, you know that it was flat, and you'd put that membrane separator and the unit would go on. The new units are, as you can see, quite different, and because of the form, and one of the reasons for that is because we updated the funnel support, the membrane support, so that you didn't have to transfer. Now you don't need forceps at all. Transferring it over, we had some people that would take the membrane support, transfer it over by forceps. Some people would turn the unit upside down and put it on. There was irregularity, and we wanted to make it easier to train people and make it consistent from person to person. So in doing that, we were able to create the system. And again, you now have a dedicated membrane support with a full barrier from the pump head for every sample. So because of the shape of the new pump head to receive the membrane support, the funnels are not compatible with the different pump heads, but the funnels are compatible with each other's media.
I have one more question with regard to
Certainly.
if you're using the adapter for the older unit, the current unit now, how would you sanitize that? And like I know you used the sanitizer here, but I don't think the same apparatus would go onto that.
Correct. So currently you're putting a funnel on top and you're running your Sanitin through, and you run your sanitization cycle. That would be exactly the same. That wouldn't change. You would take your unit, put it on top, run your sanitization cycle the way you currently do it, and perform it that way. You just wouldn't have the option of being able to do it, obviously, with the syringe and so on, because that is very unique to this unit that has the software set up that allows you to run it by pressing the lever.
Sorry, one more question. In terms of measuring the pressure, is that part of the qualification as well?
Measuring the pressure. I'm
There's
sorry.
a pressure gauge measurement that we do on our millipore system.
Yeah. So we're talking about validation of the system.
Correct.
There are vacuum gauges that come that you can get with the unit, and you can still perform that test also. Yeah.
Thank you.
Certain. Yes, of course.
Michel, we got a question about the availability of the 250 mil funnel.
So, yep, that is supposed to be coming out in June of this year, and still scheduled to. So it was originally supposed to happen in April, and it just got pushed back a couple months, and we're ready to have that for June of this year.
You're going to send a link to this presentation to everyone, or do we have to give you, how do we get that?
If you, everybody send me, put your email in the chatter, and I'll make sure it gets to you. It might mean that you get it twice, but I believe that there's a function through Teams where I can send a copy of this to everybody that accepted the email.
Okay.
But if you'd like to, if anybody who's seeing this would specifically like a copy of this presentation, please put your email address in the chat so that we can make sure that it gets to you.
Yeah, we got people doing that. Another question, Michel, is about the cost of the adapter to use the new head on the old pump.
Gosh, I apologize. I really don't know. Again, we'll look into that and get that to you.
Okay, I'll try to find it.
I apologize for that.
What's the name of that piece? What's the name of that actual part?
It's MXHEADMM1. Thank you, Tim.
Yes, I have one question for you, Michel. If you get something on the pump head, how resistant are the gaskets to being treated with 70% IPA for like spot cleaning and things like that?
So I'll look. We can look into the compatibility for the O-rings. We have recommended a complete table as to what's acceptable for cleaning the outside of the unit versus what's compatible for cleaning the inside of the unit. The charts are side by side in the user guide. On the invite, I was able to share the two files for the user guides, one for the unit and the one for the pump. with the adapter. So it goes on in there and shows you what is acceptable for cleaning the surface of the unit.
And you had mentioned that we can order those O-rings separately if we wanted to replace them.
Yes, we have. Yes, there's a kit that comes when it's time to, when you feel it's time to replace. You would get a kit, and the kit would have every single one of those O-rings. It would have the O-ring, the check valve, the O-ring on the outside, and the O-ring on the inside of the unit. There's 4 that come with it, specifically for that. I'm sorry, I can't make out what you're saying.
I don't think that was a question. I think that's just background.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. There's traffic on I-75.
Lots of to-dos in the chat here, Michel. A lot of people want information sent, so that's great.
That's fantastic. I'm totally glad to do that for you. I hope that you found this presentation helpful, and seeing it helps. We want to make sure that we can help you as you transition, and just remember the deadlines for the consumables. The current funnels are going to be discontinued in April of 2022. So you'll want to work on getting that transition to happen over the next 12 months. And please reach out to your rep, or you have my information, reach out to me, and I'll find out what